what would be a major reason for closing down a mentoring arrangement?
I think that for me, the big one is commitment.
Yeah.
So commitment on the part of, actually, in essence, both of us, the mentor and the mentee, but specific to the question, why I would be suggesting that we terminate or close a mentoring arrangement would be that you as my mentee are not fully engaged in the process and in your journey, because it is your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. It just shows up in different ways. You know, either they don't do the work that they agreed that they were going to do, or they don't show up to the meeting time, or, you know, they just fail to meet their end of the bargain. Then obviously it's time for that to end, because it's not beneficial.
Well, and that's, sorry, Yvonne, I just, that takes us back to a previous topic on paid versus free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It also takes us back to informal and formal. Yep. As well, as because when you're have that informal, I'm the one who's helping, we're looking for someone to be my mentor, and therefore a person's making the decision, the mentor, will I mentor you or not? There is a deeper, richer, again, you know, in the IMC, our language has this deeper, richer feel to it. But in the formal setting, sometimes it can get to that sort of lackluster, are we just going through the motions of what is taking? Well, then really pay attention to that. The one that I would add is around the concept of behavior. And that is when that behavior becomes incongruent with what the mentoring arrangement is meant to be about, and that maybe the person is gossiping about other people, trying to use it to leverage your, as the mentor's understanding about how it is that I might be able to deal with that situation. Things that are incongruent with what's taking place. As soon as that language starts to come in, I'm perking up and I'm going, okay, we've got to take a look at this, because is this a reason to close this down? Or is this a really great way to do some wonderful learning? And again, free, paid, informal, formal, bringing that sort of matrix to that situation. So that's something I would add.
Yeah. In my experiences, I haven't had many where I can think of two actually, where we've had to shut things down. And that's been, I think when I was very, very early on in my very first mentoring assignment, this is many years ago, I don't think I really understood the nuances of being a great mentor. And I think I scared them, to be honest, because, you know, when they started asking about something, the level of wisdom that I was sharing was so far apart from the gap of where they were at that, as I said, I think I scared them off, that they were like, that we were never going to, I'm never going to be able to absorb that level of information. Whereas now I'm obviously a lot more, I mean, this is going back even before coach training, many, many years ago, much more in tune with listening for clues of where they want to go, how fast they want to go, how committed they are to it, how much bandwidth they have in their life right now. You know, I will give someone a grace period if they're just going through a major upset. You know, one of my proteges right now has, you know, a bunch of things happening, and so they're things that are big life events that you cannot just ignore them. So I have to be compassionate about how much time is available for mentoring conversations, and how much of a commitment of big goals and big action items can he take right now. The other one was one that dropped off because, again, it was a lack of, as has been mentioned here, a lack of commitment, where I wasn't feeling that they were making enough taking enough of an advantage of the mentoring program, saying that they were going to do something, didn't do it, didn't show up on time, those kinds of things that weren't really showing respect to the relationship either, and it was an unpaid one. So my motivation as a mentor was, I think, a little different as well, to try to continue to stoke the fire for until it was really ash and it was out and it was cold.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I've experienced when the mentee they really don't have any questions. They don't seem to have any, and yeah, they just don't have any questions or anything the topics they want to talk about. And I think it comes back to what Yvonne was just saying, is if there's not a good match, if there's not a good match between the mentor and the mentee, and the mentor is like speaking over the head of the mentee may not even know what questions to ask or what topics they want to discuss, because they're just not at that level yet. They need someone maybe that's closer to what it is that they're going through right now and what they want to move and develop.
So one of the techniques that I use in that particular case is I story tell or story share. And I've had a mentoring session where I talked for 45 minutes without a break because the mentee didn't want to engage. And then at the end, I always ask at the end of every session, what was the value that you got from our time together? And her response was that the stories that I was telling were relatable to her, and she was therefore able to sort of take that step back and go, oh yeah, well, he did that, so I could probably do that. And what it did was it raised her self-esteem immensely, but it also created that safe place for that conversation to take place. And she said, I feel safe in your presence, and I'm coming away from this with a high level of self-esteem.
And I'll pick up theirs, because the techniques of when you're actually in and mentoring, I think we need to look at in another conversation, the notion when the mentee becomes reliant on the mentor.
Right.
Or the mentee is not taking that self-concept, that individuality, and developing it so that they can know to ask the kind of questions. There are some aspects about how do we support the mentee that I think might be great for our next conversation, to sort of what's happening there, what can we learn, what can we offer to each other around that point.